Yeah. They're providing financial aid to this program and all that, but in a very serious way. So they can be like, all right, well, I mean, this at least acknowledges the challenge of if going back in the cave has all these problems, right, for the person who's been enlightened, then why should they do it? And at least this acknowledges that that's a problem. Right? You actually have to sell that, right?
I think also it kind of goes back to book 1 or 2, I forgot where it was, where the person who's just wouldn't be willing to be ruled by an unjust person. So it really appeals to that sense.
It's a good catch. It's a good catch. When I read this, there's something kind of funny in this because I always think that these are like this sounds like a PhD program where people are so you're taking at each level you're taking the cream of the crop from just a pure academic sense, right? And promoting them up and promoting them up, promoting them up. Then they get into graduate school, and the desire isn't to go out into the world and lead folks, right? It's actually to stay in the ivory tower, right? That's like literally stay out of the cave. They're not trying to run back into the cave, right? And it leads to lots of critiques of educational systems that create these classes of intellectuals who don't actually make at least a measurable contribution to the greater world.
Well, that's kind of how it works. That if you want to prosper, the solution might be social entrepreneurship, and maybe that's one way to
Maybe. I mean, we'll wait till we're talking about social entrepreneur, and then I'll be sure to bring up Plato's allegory of the cave. I mean, I think there's some connection. We just need the other half of that first. And so then there's a pretty bald description here of the philosopher king. Observe that about. Somebody read that for me. Page 192. Observe the Glaucon.
Observe and talking that we won't be doing an injustice to those who become philosophers in our city, and that what we'll say to them when we compel them to guard or care for the others will be just. We'll say, when people like you come to be in other cities, they're justified in not sharing in their city's labors, for they've grown there spontaneously against the will of the Constitution. And what grows of its own accord and owes no debt for its upbringing has justice on its side, when it isn't keen to pay anyone for that upbringing. But we made you kings in our city and leaders of the swarm, as it were, both for yourselves and for the rest of the city. You're better and more completely educated than the others, and are better able to share in both types of life. Therefore, each of you in turn must go down to live in the common dwelling place of the others and grow accustomed to seeing in the dark. When you're used to it, you'll see vastly better than people there, and because you've seen the truth about fine, just, and good things, you'll know each image for what it is, and also that of which it is the image. Thus, for you and for us, the city will be governed, not like the majority of cities nowadays, by people who fight over shadows and struggle against one another in order to rule, as if that were a great good, but by people who are awake rather than dreaming. For truth is surely this: a city whose prospective rulers are least eager to rule must of necessity be most free from civil war, whereas a city with the opposite kind of rulers is governed in the opposite way. Absolutely.
Yeah, what does that mean? I'm sending a handout around. I've only got like 15, so you guys got to share.
I think he's saying that.
Yeah, go ahead.
That part of the reason to go back in is not only the obligation to the city, but that once we do so, we grow accustomed to seeing the again, we'll be able to see a lot better than everybody else down there, as well as having the knowledge of the ultimate truth from the outside the cave, and that these are the people that are best suited to rule.
And this really is an argument to say this is why you got to get back in the cave, right? Get in there. Right? We've educated you. You've gotten the best of everything, right? But that was created. That wasn't. It's not just this life of the mind thing where it's like, just the gaining of knowledge is good in and of itself. And that's what gets confused, I think, a lot with a lot of philosophical stuff, and I think particularly contemporary stuff, is that knowledge, even for the Greeks, was not just about the luxury of the acquisition. That there still is, okay, now you've got the knowledge, in a certain sense, show us what you're worth by using that knowledge in the real world. That there's still that further piece. Right? And that really, in a lot of ways, is the test of the philosopher kings. Right? So it's not about being a philosopher. The point of this isn't to say philosophy is the greatest thing ever. Right? It's to say if we can create this class of folks and get them to lead, right, then this will be the best of all cities. Because remember, we're not ultimately concerned with individuals or even individual classes. We're worried about how we can get the best city. Right? So here's a graph, actually one of my students made about a year ago, that captures in a graphic way what the cave allegory was trying to say in a more literary way. Has everybody got at least one of these they can look over on? Okay, good. Because knowledge in this case, that's why I say we've got a different theory of wisdom here, right? Knowledge in this case is kind of where we start. And that's the stuff of the sensual world. That would be what's represented as the shadow world, like the people in their original state, right? That would be knowledge, actually. Right? So that's a peculiar use of knowledge, right? Once we've now learned that that's really just shadows being projected on the wall, right? And it's about, I mean, if we're talking about this cave allegory, it's about rising, going up this passage, right, to the world of the forms, to reality, where the sun is, this big circle up here. And I got Sophia sitting over here. So the word philosopher is just philosophia, love of wisdom. Right? So Sophia is wisdom, but wisdom in the theoretical sense. And that's going to be important. Making that distinction is really important. So you're raising it, presumably, this is the process by which the rational part of the soul is being oriented towards the truth. That's this first leg here. And of course, this is the truth sitting up there, the whole passage about being able to see the stars, being able to see the sun, and kind of see how everything is. That's presumably what's happened once you get to the top of this. And when we deal with chapter 10, there's more forms than just the form of the good. Right? So this land of the forms is really having a glimpse into reality as things really are. And that's what these philosophers are supposed to be getting through this wisdom education. But we just read the part where they're like, no, now that you have that, you need to go back into the cave and lead in the world of shadows. You who are enlightened need to lead in the world of shadows. And the term phronesis is sitting over there, which is practical wisdom. So Sophia is the theoretical stuff. Phronesis is the practical stuff. This is where a lot of philosophers will break down, like the actual need to make a difference in the world of practical affairs. Right? It's like, what? So that's a different kind of skill. That's a different sort of display of intelligence, is phronesis. Okay. And once you've gained all this theoretical knowledge, right? Had a glimpse of the forms, and you've come down and displayed that by leading your community to a better overall outcome, best of all possible situation for your community. Then your knowledge, you see on this bottom line, has grown to understanding. There's a difference between knowledge and understanding here. Knowledge is what you start out with. Understanding is what you get because you've had a glimpse of the forms, and in your actions back in the real world, you demonstrated that knowledge. This will become really important in Book 10. This last piece, this last test. Questions about this diagram? Are you clear about how this maps on to the conversation we've had about the allegory of the cave? We're clear about the difference between Sophia and phronesis, clear about the difference between knowledge and understanding. You can't have knowledge without having had a glimpse of the forms, but understanding also demands that you show that glimpse of the forms in your actions. Choosing the right thing. Once you've seen what the right is, what the good is, the fact that you're choosing that lets us know.
And so, just like he said, this isn't like really Socrates saying this is Plato using Socrates.
This is Plato.
Yeah,
Yeah.
This is Plato's
So remember the kind of the critique of Socrates was always, you know, dude, you're always critiquing other people's theory of whatever it is they think they know. Poets are supposed to know something. No. Craftsmen know stuff. No. Politicians know stuff. No. But you never put forward your positive theory on what it is, right? Remember, that's where we leave off with the Apology and Crito and all. And that's even when we get book one, right? There's a Thrasymachus that jumps up and gets on him about this, gets in his face about this. So now, Plato clearly has decided to provide that for us. But he couldn't just do it as like, let me just give you this allegory. He has to show how one actually goes through this process. The reason why the cave is important is because it's showing us not just that there's differences between these different concepts, but that there's actually a process to take us through such that we know the differences between these. And they can recognize folks who are leading based on this kind of knowledge. You see what I'm saying? That there's a curriculum involved in doing this. It's not just good enough to know that these distinctions are there. And once again, I'll keep reminding you, these are some pretty radical distinctions when you say that which is most tangible are the shadows. And that we've moved to a knowledge system, right, where one, understanding that the deepest thing is about knowing about the reality that stands behind the tangible world. And why is this important for leaders again? And this is all about leadership. Remember, these philosopher kings are supposed to be leading. And why is this important? Just as a last check here, that you understand this. Why is all this philosophy important for leadership?
Leaders lead for everyone else. They don't lead for themselves. They lead for the state to have the most state possible.
Give me more on that.
I mean, isn't he saying that leading is implying like that you understand the knowledge, that you're actually taking what you've learned is the right thing and applying it to the city? Like actually making the decision to do the right thing.
You're standing right on top of it.
Is it just without understanding you can't lead?
I need the combination of those two comments right there.